Is Donald Trump fit to serve as the president of the United States into his early 80s? Well, I don't think so. And with every rally that he holds, every speech that he gives, he provides us more and more evidence that he's facing some sort of cognitive decline as he continues to mix up names, as he continues to slur his way through sentences, or just tell long, rambling stories that never end in a satisfying way, like the one about Hannibal Lecter. But this article reads, experts say Trump's speaking style shows potential indications of cognitive decline. Quote, there's reasonable evidence suggestive of forms of dementia, clinical psychologist says after reviewing Trump's speeches. And we know that it runs in the family. We know that if Trump is the president again, he will be 82, maybe 83 by the end of his term, which is way too old, especially for somebody who already doesn't understand NATO, doesn't understand the economy, doesn't understand the fundamentals of the Constitution. I mean, as Donald Trump gets older and older and loses his mind, he will drag our country down with us. Now, before I break down Trump's cognitive decline, I want to break down something that ties into it closely. Republicans think Trump is having a, quote, nervous breakdown over Kamala Harris. The ex-president is definitely missing Joe Biden right about now. And this article goes into detail about how sources close to Donald Trump have noticed that he is increasingly losing his mind as the days pass, and it only started after Joe Biden dropped out of the race. So there's this phenomenon where when Donald Trump is ahead in a race, he's somewhat disciplined. A few months ago after the terrible debate, he was pretty quiet on Truth Social, and then immediately after Biden dropped out, and as the polls started to flip in VP Harris's favor, Donald Trump can't contain himself. He is now explicitly more racist than he was a few months ago. He is now explicitly saying stuff about not having to vote in the next election. Last month, as Democrats weighed replacing Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee, reports emerged the Trump campaign did not want the president to drop out of the race. This made perfect sense given that 1, Donald Trump was ahead in the polls, 2, their main line of attack, that Biden was too old and not physically up to the task, was clearly working. Unfortunately for Trump, Biden was replaced, and so the ex-president is majorly flailing in the face of his new competition, Kamala Harris. Politico reports that Republicans are panicking over Trump's showing against Kamala Harris, which has so far involved calling the vice president dumb, claiming she suddenly, quote, became a black person, and spelling her name Kamala. None of this behavior appears to be helping his chances of getting reelected, and according to party insiders, it's stemming from the fact that he's absolutely freaked out about going toe-to-toe with someone who he can't just claim has dementia. Quote, this is what you would call a nervous breakdown. Matthew Bartlett, a GOP strategist and one-time Trump administration official, told Politico add him to the long list of old Trump allies, old Trump officials that no longer like Donald Trump. Quote, this is a guy who cut through the Republican primary like a knife through butter. This is a guy who pummeled a semi-conscious president in a debate and literally out of a race. This guy's definitely a Republican. And now, this is a guy who cannot come to grips with a competitive presidential race that would require discipline and effective messaging. And we're seeing a candidate and a campaign absolutely meltdown. As I was saying, Donald Trump is becoming more and more impulsive and losing any shred of discipline he had after Biden's terrible debate performance. As a reminder, last week Trump appeared before the NABJ and told members that the vice president, who attended a historically black college, was only Indian until a few years ago. He presumably thought this would help him with black voters. I don't know what he was thinking, but on to the big article. Experts say Trump's speaking style shows potential signs of cognitive decline. And I'm going to be extremely blunt, but Donald Trump is also just dumb. So sometimes it's hard to tell if we're looking at him exhibiting signs of cognitive decline or looking at him just being dumb like he always has been. For example, we recently learned that he doesn't know that the word asylum has 2 definitions. Now, I actually think a 60-year-old Donald Trump would still confuse that because he's just stupid, but he's also showing signs of cognitive decline like when he mixes up the names of Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley. This article reads, former President Donald Trump's speaking style may reveal signs of cognitive decline according to psychological experts. An analysis by STAT, a media organization focusing on health, found that Trump's common speech pattern called tangentiality, jumping from one topic to another topic with few connections, if any, in between, is just one of a number of incoherent speaking habits that appears to have worsened in the last few years. So, maybe I was wrong. The Hannibal Lecter thing, when he's talking about Hannibal Lecter, it's because he's talking about insane asylums, and he's talking about insane asylums because he doesn't understand that when immigrants are seeking asylum in this country, seeking a place to come, safe harbor, that asylum doesn't mean insane asylum. Donald Trump doesn't know that those words have that word has two different meanings. So maybe that tangentiality right there, him jumping from asylum to insane asylum to Hannibal Lecter, is a sign of cognitive decline. In 2017, Trump's first year as president, Stat found Trump's speaking style had worsened since the 1980s. In a repetition of that analysis, experts found that since 2017, Trump's way of speaking has deteriorated even further. Now, he's always repeated himself, he's always talked like a salesman, even since the 70s or 80s, but according to this analysis, it has gotten worse. He's gotten more repetitious, he said more random things, and connected things that shouldn't be connected. The complexity of his speaking style has decreased, and while the experts in memory, psychology, and linguistics who spoke to Stat noted that they couldn't give a diagnosis without conducting an examination, several of them said some of the changes in the former president's speaking style were possible signs of cognitive decline. And I've seen videos of Donald Trump from the 80s or 90s. He's still dumb, but he speaks in a way more concise and clear manner, and he's not rambling and screaming. It's just a night and day difference, even if he was dumb in the 90s. Before President Joe Biden dropped out of the race, the 81-year-old Democrat's age and mental capabilities received the most scrutiny. That's an understatement. There were hundreds and hundreds of articles written in a 1-month period about Joe Biden's age, but none written about Donald Trump's age. So one of the main advantages that the Harris campaign has, as we've talked about, is that she can turn the spotlight over to Donald Trump. Look who's old now, Donald Trump. But now, as Trump, 78, is running against VP Kamala Harris, 59, that focus is shifting towards the former president. Trump is claimed to have, quote, aced cognitive tests and urged all candidates to take them, but he won't publicly release his results. And when he was bragging about acing his cognitive test, he got the name of his doctor wrong. Quote, I want anybody running for president to take an aptitude test, to take a cognitive test. I think it's a great idea. And I took 2 of them, and I aced them, he told the NABJ last week. During the 2024 campaign, Trump has appeared to mix up the names of Biden and his predecessor, President Barack Obama, as well as the former UN ambassador Nikki Haley and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. But even as those errors received heavy scrutiny, those mistakes aren't significant, experts say. Everyone, to some degree, has some level of mixing up names, clinical psychologist Ben Michaelis told Stat, which is interesting because I mix up names a lot, and it shows that that isn't the true sign of cognitive decline. Psychology professor Zenzi Griffin at the University of Texas at Austin noted that Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi are similar sounding names, which, quote, makes it an easy error to make. But when experts viewed clips from 2024 and compared them to clips from 2017, they noted that Trump's speech included more short sentences, a confused order of words, repetition, and extended digressions. The causes could vary, some worse than others, including mood changes, trying to win over a certain group of people, natural aging, or it could be the start of a cognitive condition such as Alzheimer's disease, the experts said. And either way, no matter what it is, I do not want Donald Trump in his current state regressing into his early 80s while he's in the White House, the most powerful position in the world, arguably. Either way, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment a blue heart, hit that subscribe button, and have a great day. Peace out.